Hey everyone, so I thought I would do a video since we've now arrived back at home. It's been about 3 weeks since we returned from our amazing 19-day trip to Japan. So I thought I'd actually do a video of some helpful tips and recommendations, especially if you're traveling as a family like us. I thought I'd do a video for like some tips and recommendations, especially if you're traveling as a family like we did. We are a family of 5 from Australia. We are 2 adults and 3 children. So our kids are 11, 9 and 4 years old. And our second son actually has Down syndrome, so he's got additional needs. When we had booked Japan, it was actually quite hard to find information. For instance, it was hard to find information about like tickets and the process of disability passes for theme parks, so like for Disneyland and Disneysea. So I thought I'd create this video to just give other families some helpful tips and recommendations. So I'm going to break it up in the video, help you out. So if there's some parts that you're more interested in than others, then you can go ahead and skip some of the parts that you're not interested in. First, start off with packing, since it's kind of the first thing you do. So we joined a Facebook group page, and one of the biggest recommendations I saw was to pack light. So believe it or not, I actually managed to pack for a family of 5 just in 1 medium luggage. So I actually used the space bag hack, so I was able to get a lot of clothing quite vacuumed in the space bag, which created a lot more room. But yeah, we were able to do 1 luggage medium size on the way to Japan. Ended up buying a second luggage in Kyoto when we ended up shopping more and ran out of room in our current one. But that is the biggest tip, and that's actually something I'd recommend. Pack light, because you are going to be moving, like especially if you are moving around. We did Osaka, Kyoto and then Tokyo. So if you are moving around to different cities, accommodations, having really light luggage or luggage that you can move around quite easily is really helpful. Most of the transport systems do have elevators and escalators, but other times you do need to carry the luggage up a few flights of stairs. Okay, so next let's move on to accommodation. So accommodations was one of the first things I booked after our flights, and a person that does a lot of research, I just found hotels to be more expensive, and because you're a family of 5, the amount of people that can stay in a room is only 4. So in most cases I had to either book 2 rooms, and sometimes those 2 rooms weren't even adjoined or together, so I wasn't risking that. I didn't want to be separated, especially on a holiday. What I found was Airbnbs to be really affordable and really spacious. So if you're a family of 4 or more, I would highly recommend Airbnbs. I will actually link the Airbnbs we stayed at, and I'll also, here are some of the photos of the Airbnb. So tips for the Airbnbs is, the biggest one is, one, I researched a lot, but for me it was space, but also cleanliness. Big one is close to a train station. Especially if you got young kids, you don't want to be walking 10 to 15 minutes to and from the station to your Airbnb. Anything under 10 minutes or even around the 5 minutes. I think all our Airbnbs are really close to the station, especially Ikebukuro. So that's my biggest tip for accommodation, and I just found it more affordable. And with Airbnbs you get space. You get usually the kitchen is separate, the lounge is separate, and then the bedrooms are separate, and then your bathroom is also separate. The next thing would be transportation. So in Japan, we just found it to be very similar to Europe, but if anything as well, it was just next level. So transportation in Japan is unbelievable. Everything is on time, so you will not be disappointed. Booked a lot of our trains through an app called Klook, but we did end up just buying a lot of tickets at the train stations just before getting on. When you first get there, it's very overwhelming, but then eventually you will get used to it. By the end of the trip, we were pretty much professionals with the ticket machine. I think one of the biggest tips I can give you with transportation is don't rush. Google Maps will be your best friend. It's 99% of the time it is accurate. And if you are unsure, we happen to ask locals, and we use Google Translate, and I think most of them were always like super helpful. They ended up using their phone to translate back to us, or I just used my phone and put it up against their mouth, and then they replied. Another recommendation would be don't rush. Like I said, so there's clear signs, everything's color coded, so as long as you follow the lines or the color of the line, you should be fine. And what we found was if we were going down the escalator and we saw the train there, we didn't rush, because what we found was most trains, the next train would be at least less than 5-minute wait. So biggest tip, don't rush. If you're like, there's no point in rushing and then getting stressed out, or like you don't want to have like a fall or anything like that going down the escalator, or your children. So don't rush. There is plenty of trains that will come after that one. Taxis we found to be quite good. We are a family of 5, and we were scared that if we had to take taxis we would be asked to split up, but we were very lucky. We took about, I'd say, 5 taxi rides in our total of 19 days in Japan, and all times we were able to hop on one taxi. So no issues there. Again, I don't know how it may be for other people or what your experience might be, but for us, we were able to get on one taxi. Again, we didn't use it much. It was really, if just couldn't be bothered to walk, or the kids were really tired, or we just wanted to get to a place a lot more quicker, that's when we use taxis. But other than that, the trains are so superb and really clean. Oh, sorry, and with transport, so you will find escalators and elevators at most stations. There might just be a few times where if you need to swap platforms or go from one station to another, there might be some flight of stairs where you might need to actually carry your luggage or pram. But other than that, most of the times we did find escalators and elevators available at most stations. Card and money. Being from Australia, we've actually already got a Wise card account. So the great thing about Wise is when you've got the app, you can open up different umbrellas or different saving accounts. So we opened up a Japan accommodation and a Japan savings account. Sorry, a Japan spending money account. While we were saving in the 6 months, the exchange rate was going up and down. But my husband said in the last 5 years, this is actually the highest it's been. So we were actually really blessed with a good exchange rate. So the great thing is you can open up a Wise account, and then you can do the same thing, just save months in advance or years whenever you're planning to go, and you can actually convert it to yen, which is really great. I also found Wise worked when booking for things like through Klook, Peach Airline, which is a Japanese airline. Our Australian credit cards would not work on that, but our Wise card did. And also with the Disneyland and Disneysea theme parks, our Australian cards didn't work on there, but the Wise did. So Wise ended up being our main card for the trip. And we've withdrew money at any 7-Eleven, which is really easy and convenient to use. Another tip, yes, cash is a big thing over there still, and I have never ever held so many coins in my life. So do bring a coin purse or something that can hold coins, because you will end up getting a lot of it as change. The great thing is we ended up using it a lot for vending machines to buy water and drinks, and also the claw machine games, which the kids just went crazy for in Japan. While I'm on the subject of money, I found food and drinks to be really affordable in Japan compared to here in Australia. I'll give you an example. A bottle of water would be, I think the cheapest bottle of water we saw was 80 yen, which would be less than $1 after converting that. So that's close to, or just under $1, which is insane. So really affordable, and I think that's why we ate so much, is because everything was just so cheap, delicious and fresh and affordable over in Japan. Even convenience store food, the 7-Eleven, your Family Mart, your Lawson's, just great food and really cheap. So that's it with food and drinks and money. General information with traveling with children, and especially children, if you've got children with additional needs, like my son who's got Down syndrome. I guess the biggest thing I can tell you is there's a lot of walking involved in a Japan trip, so we were doing anywhere between 15,000 to 25,000 steps per day. So that's why I recommend staying close to stations with your Airbnb, because you've been walking all day, and the last thing you want is to, especially after a long day, you don't want to walk another 15-20 minutes to your Airbnb when you just want to get there and rest. My son did have a few tantrums in public, but people stared, but were courteous about it. The great thing is I actually did see a lot of, especially in the theme parks, we saw a lot of children with additional needs. So I saw a lot of children with autism, Down syndrome and other disabilities. So it was just great. It was actually great to see. So if you're traveling with children with additional needs, I would say you just do exactly what you're doing like you were at home. Over in Japan, we had to teach our children to be courteous and be quiet in the trains, because that's that's their culture over there. So we had to teach our children just to be quiet. But obviously if your child ends up emotional, can't regulate their emotion and they cry, you're going to get stares, but most of the time people are quite courteous over there. And we actually found a lot of them gave up their seats for me or the kids, which was really, really lovely. We were saying no, but a lot of them did end up standing up, which was really, really nice. If you have any children with additional needs and you need to purchase a disability ticket, Universal Studios does not offer a disability ticket or discount. So you just pay the normal price. For Disneysea and Disneyland, I tried to purchase it through Klook, but unfortunately they don't sell the disability tickets either, so I had to go directly through Disney website. How it works is you pay for the child, but also one guardian or one parent will get a disability discount, so I was able to get a discount. How it works, and this is where I kind of found not a lot of information, even on their website. There's information on their website, but it was really, really hard to understand or really understand what you need to bring. Being in Australia, it just says medical documentation, and then you think, what kind of medical documentation do I need to bring? Like, I'll tell you what I brought and what I had to show. So you need to bring some kind of original documentation to show proof of your child's diagnosis. So I ended up bringing, so if you're in Australia or you understand NDIS, so I brought in like a one-page letter just showing my son's diagnosis, but I also brought my hospital letter which also showed my son's diagnosis. And then it said on the website, if there's no picture of the person on these documentations, then you've got to show passport. So the day we entered Disneysea and Disneyland, all I had to do was show my passport and the hospital documentation. They just made sure the names matched on the passport and also on the documentation. And then, everything was in English, and I pointed out the diagnosis, and then she said, yep, that's fine. So we entered, no issues there at all. Now, I believe there was disability stickers that were handed out during the theme parks. We actually didn't go and get the stickers, well, then we didn't know where to go. And then anyway, I think as we were lining up on a few rides, we actually noticed a lot of other children with additional needs were in the same line. So to be honest, I don't even think there's a separate waiting line or separate area for children who can't wait. So which was a bit of a shame, because I did at one point see another child, a little girl with Down syndrome, and because they have low muscle tone, they tire really easily, and she was just sitting on the floor every time the queue moved. So I did kind of feel sorry for her, and then the carer that was with her had to carry her every time. So look, I don't know if there was a separate line, but to be honest, I saw so many children with additional needs in the same line. So I guess I'll have to find out more the next time we go, if I do get a disability sticker, just to see what the difference is. Japan as well is they actually are pram and wheelchair friendly. So again, like I mentioned, you'll find escalators, elevators at most stations. In theme parks as well, very stroller and wheelchair friendly. Even at the temples and things like that, I found it really, really accommodating. So they would have ramps or areas where you can go around if you had a wheelchair. But I actually had no issues with having to push a stroller around. If you are bringing a stroller to Japan, just be prepared for a lot of crowds and a lot of people. So if you are bringing a stroller, things may just be a little bit more slower, like from getting from one place to another, especially if it's a super crowded place like Shinjuku, Shibuya. Kiyomizu-dera Temple was insane, and we were going uphill as well. I've got a video of that if you want to see it, but I'll insert the clip here. But yeah, so we're literally going uphill. So you just got to be mindful that, yeah, you're going to be patient. You got to be patient in general anyway, because there's people, but you got to be extra patient if you're pushing a stroller, and then obviously you're trying to be courteous and try not to hit anyone around you. But other than that, bringing a stroller, or if you've got a child or someone in a wheelchair, it's very, very doable in Japan. Being a clean freak, Japan public toilets are absolutely the best public toilets I've ever seen in my life, and that was a big win for me. So if you have children like us, or you are bringing children and they need to go to the toilet randomly, the great thing is you can pretty much find public toilets at restaurants, cafes, even retail stores, and then convenience stores always have toilets, and I found them to be about 95% of the time were clean. So I was so happy to use them. I've never been so happy to actually go into a public toilet, but in Japan it was just so clean. So you will not have no issues there finding a toilet for your children if they need to go. Another thing I would recommend is to teach your children some basic phrases, so like your hellos, your bye, your thank you. When our kids were using the phrases like arigatou gozaimasu, the locals really loved that, and they got so excited when they heard their children saying it. So I think it's really important that if you're going to a different country, you teach your children some basic words. It was really nice to see, and the locals absolutely loved it too. So I think they appreciate, even though they don't speak a lot of English, some don't speak English, some speak English, but when you're trying to communicate to them and at least saying some basic words back to them in their language, they're really, really appreciative of that. So definitely teach yourself and children some basic phrases, even my kawaii. Willow, do you want to say arigatou gozaimasu?
Arigatou gozaimasu.
So the kids actually got kawaii a lot while we were over there. Kawaii means cute. And let's just go back to the theme parks. It is a good idea to pre-book your tickets. So we had pre-booked. Well, you can only pre-book, I think, 2 months ahead of time anyway. But once your date opens up in the 2 months prior, be quick to book it, especially Universal Studios, because Super Nintendo World is still very popular. So we bought our tickets and bought the Super Nintendo World time entry through Klook. I would highly, highly recommend Klook. So easy to use, super friendly as well. We ended up buying the Tokyo subway pass, the 72-hour one, for like 3 times. So you'll find some good deals through Klook. Really, really easy to use. Try everything that you see. Kind of tried everything we saw because it's affordable there and you're in a different country. So try and experience as much food, as much culture as you can. Sorry, I didn't even give you a breakdown. So we arrived from Sydney to Narita Airport, and we actually did an overnight stay at a hotel near the airport, because unfortunately we didn't know we could have gone straight to Osaka, but that's okay. We know for next time. So 1 night in a hotel near the airport, then we ended up doing 4 nights in Osaka, 2 nights in Kyoto, and 11 nights in Tokyo. For us, it was a total of 19 days. Absolutely perfect for us. I felt like especially having the 11 days in Tokyo, it felt so spread out and we weren't rushing to see things. So obviously not everyone could take 19 days, but for us that was a great amount of time, and we hope to do that again soon. If you have any questions or anything in particular that you want me to answer, feel free to comment down below and I'll respond to you in case I missed something. But hopefully that helps other families who are planning a trip to Japan very, very soon. Bye.